Show me a figure you bought just for the Build-A-Figure part.
So, Build-A-Figures. I'm almost never able to do this when I see these compilation show-me's. Like, literally ever. How do I put this? Very few times, ever, have I ever come across something, especially in the way I collect now, that I buy something I don't want. Like, so there have been Build-A-Figures like the Juggernaut, which I went after. I know this is going to shock some people. I'm not a huge fan of Deadpool. Like at all. Like at all. When I was growing up, he didn't really make appearances. I have no nostalgia attached to him. When he did show up in the comics, he was very unserious, and that was not what I was going for at the time. I was like, I guess you could say 90s. I wanted my comics to be like super real and edgy and stupid crap. Let's be honest. When I look back at it now, Deadpool is fun, and I get a big kick out of him. And when I do read stuff that he's in, I laugh and I enjoy myself. But back then, he would show up in random Spider-Man or X-Men comics or things of that nature. And like, I would be like, ugh, this guy, oh my God. And like, I didn't appreciate him. He didn't have the same vibe to me. In fact, back then, I looked at him like Marvel's Harley Quinn, which you could make arguments. You get the idea one way or another. But I'm just saying, so when I was putting together the Juggernaut, I wanted the Juggernaut. But I didn't want him. And I didn't want to justify the $20 that it would have taken to get him, because at the time, especially when we're talking about just me going back into collecting, I was working at McDonald's, and I was making like a whopping, like when I started there, I started at like $7.21 an hour. And then I went to like crew trainer. After a raise or two, I went to crew trainer. And then it was like $8.20. It was like $8.20 something or $8.40 something. Somewhere in there. By the time I left, I was management at McDonald's. Management. And I was working, making $10.21 an hour. That's it. $10.21 an hour. And you would think that for the time, it was good money, but it wasn't, because the apartment that I was stuck in was costing me like $1,000 a month rent. So in order to afford to live, I was literally living at the McDonald's. So it was like, I was doing like literally 14-hour days and barely making it. And then I would go home and I'd be like, oh my God. And most of the time what I ate was McDonald's, because I could eat it for free, because I get like the manager meal a day, and I just get the thing with the highest calories on purpose, and it'd be like the only thing I ate that day. And so like this continued for a while. I remember for a while I was at rock bottom enough that when I would go to the grocery store and buy groceries, I felt like a king, like a straight up king. I would go to Aldi's, come home with some lunch meat, some bread, some, something like that. And I'd put together a sandwich with some chips, and I'd get like a plate, and I'd put the sandwich on there with the chips. And I was like, I'd sit in my living room and be like, look at me, I made this myself. Like it's so bad. When I look back on that moment, like what I was making, where I was living, the situation that I was in, it was rough. It was rough. So when I did put together the money to get a $20 action figure, a $10 action figure, something of that nature, it was definitely not that I would spring for anything that I didn't want. Everything on that shelf, and I've talked about this in a lot of my videos, my collecting habit, everything on the shelf has to have a story, a reason for being here. It has to say something directly about me or have a direct reason for being on the shelf, or I don't want it. At all. Like at all. Don't need it. If I do happen to come across a change of mind, like I've gotten to a point where I no longer care for this character, or I've definitely got a better Batman or something of that nature, I'll sell the old one. I'll set up a toy table, or I'll do marketplace or whatever, and I'll sell it. Because, like, I'd rather it go to another collector or a customizer or something like that that can make use of it. I just don't have a purpose for it at that point. What am I doing with it, right? And, of course, when you only have so much space, it's good to constantly filter things in and out of the collection, too, and make sure that everything in the collection has a point. So, I don't have a single figure on the shelf from a collecting wave, that's what I'll call it, collecting wave, where I bought the figure to get the parts of something else. Ever. Like, I just don't think I have that. It's not that I haven't done it, but if I caught myself doing it when I had extra money, like when I first went to the job that I do now, I found myself in a situation where I had extra money for the first time in years, and I was like, yes! And I'd go out and be like, dink, 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 and buy a couple figures and come home and be like, look at all these toys I got. And so then I started realizing, now I'm spending money for the sake of spending money. And I started getting rid of them. So I don't have a single figure on the shelf that I don't like, or that I bought only because I wanted the Build-A-Figure counterpart. I would often look at it, analyze it, and go, so to get the figure that I want, it's going to cost me $170 to get the entire line, or like $150 because they're like $25 figures or whatever. So like, I'm like, there's 6 parts. I need this. That's like $150. I spent $150. I end up with 3 figures that I like and 3 figures that I don't necessarily care for. And then what am I going to do with them? Nope. And I'll just pick the 3 that I want. So I have a bunch of Build-A-Figures that are not done. Like, I just have pieces that are sitting around. But that's because I could never convince myself to buy the Build-A-Figures. Yeah. It's been like that for as long as I can remember. So there. I know. I have stitched your video over and over and over again now to answer all the areas where I was like, but that was my intention. I just wanted to answer every single one of the questions, and I had the free time to do it, and I figured it'd be cool to get the videos out and give me a chance to talk toys and everything like that. So there you go. I've now shown you every single toy that you asked for, and I answered why I couldn't do it in other scenarios. I'm gonna get out of here.